What's going on? It's Camille Ico. I hope that you are living the life that you love spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially on this wonderful Monday evening. Drop those ones as you are coming on. Let me know that you are catching this live, and drop a 2 if you are catching this on replay. And I'm excited to be talking to you all tonight about episode number 7, Speak Kindly to Yourself and Others. So welcome everybody as you're hopping on to tonight's session, episode, whatever you want to call it, of Protect Your Vibe. Drop a 1 if you're catching this live. Drop a 2 if you are watching this on replay. Hey, what's going on, everybody? So, it is so important, so important to protect your vibe. And it was funny because I really didn't want to do this live on tonight, just because I wasn't in the mood to do it. However, I began to think to myself that we need to allow our yeses be yes and our nos be nos, and we need to be impeccable with our word. And that's part of protecting your vibe as well, is that when you keep your word, then you don't have to have any regrets. You don't have to be down on yourself, because if I didn't do this live, my vibe would have been off, because it would have been like, man, all it would have took is for you to go live for a few minutes and to keep your word and stick to your plan. But instead, you couldn't do it. You're not disciplined, right? I would have had this whole thought process that went through, which goes perfectly along with what we're talking about on tonight, and that is speak kindly to yourself. One of the ways to make sure that you protect your vibe is to speak kindly to yourself. And in one of those things to make sure that you speak kindly to yourself is to make sure you keep your word, right? Be a person who, when they say they're going to do something, they do it. And then that way you don't have to look back on yourself and say, you know what? Oh, gosh, you're so inconsistent. Oh, you're this, you're that. And then you begin to talk negatively about yourself. When you are impeccable with your word, then you are a person of integrity. You're a person with good character, and you don't have to worry about talking bad about yourself, right? And here's the thing, that's just an example with me personally, but just in anything, guys, with the way that we may look, in dating relationships, on the job, how you talk about yourself matters. And for some people, we can put on a facade. We put a smile on, we might put some makeup on, whatever. We go out there, we act like everything is great. We talk to other people like the world is just like perfect. Everything in our world is perfect, but really on the inside, you're downing yourself. On the inside, you're talking badly about yourself. And if nobody else can hear you, you hear you. You can hear yourself negatively speaking. And all it takes is one negative thought for you that you speak to yourself that will completely throw you off course, that will completely ruin your vibe. All right. And so even though you might be faking it to everybody else, on the inside, there is really turmoil going on. And that's what we want to prevent, because we want to make sure that we protect our vibe. So, hey, good evening, everyone who's joining in. What's going on? So the other thing with making sure that you speak kindly to yourself and others, right, is stop being so judgmental. When it comes to other people, stop being so judgmental, please. You don't know what the other person's situation is. And maybe you do know what the other person's situation is, but it's really not in your place to judge them. So if you can help them, then help them. But if not, then be quiet. Pray for them, right? Because here's the thing. You begin to speak negatively about that person. You don't know what seeds you are planting in that person's life. And all it takes is a seed to ruin it, right? We're looking around, we're wondering why these kids are wanting to commit suicide, why we're having all of these issues and problems. A lot of times it just came from someone saying some negative, bad thing, and that planted a seed, and that's all it took. And now it's like their world is shattered and in chaos, okay? Understand that your words have power. You have the power to speak life or death with your words. So what are you using your words for? Are you using your words to speak life into yourself and into others? Or are you speaking death into yourself and into others? And one of the great ways to be able to identify what you are doing is look at your life. Look at what you are accomplishing. Are you happy? Are you content? Are you excited about the next day? What about the people around you? Are they always negative? Are they always complaining? Or do you have people who are pushing you, who are motivating you? Okay, this is a good way to tell about what type of vibe you are giving off, because it is going to be manifesting in your life. So if you're dealing with a whole bunch of people who are always down, who are all depressed, then you might want to check yourself. You either need to check yourself to see, hey, am I the one who is giving off this energy, who is creating life to be like this? Or am I allowing their energy to impact and influence me, right? This is what we need to be going over. And this all starts from our words. Our words have so much power, okay? But stop being judgmental. If you can't help somebody, don't judge them. Just pray about it and keep it moving, okay? Pray about it and keep it moving, but you need to speak kindly to them, speak life into them, speak hope into them, okay? Let me see. Hey, cousin. All right. OMG, so mad at my best friend. Yeah. Hold your best friend accountable, right? Because that's stuff that rubs off on you. And then when you are talking to your best friend, like that energy is on you. Now you feel frustrated. Like there's just some people where I'm just like, I can't even deal with them for a certain, or I can only deal with them for a certain amount of time, because it's like, you know what? I know that at the end of that conversation, I'm going to be drained, and I'm going to be like, why did I even put myself in that predicament? Why am I even talking to you? Like, how is this progressing? How is this moving my life forward? How is this putting me in a better mood? Like, how is this making me a better person? Oh, it's not? Okay, then I don't really need to have this conversation with you, right? But so stop being judgmental, because when we then cast our judgment on other people, it does not help anybody, okay? And in fact, it just makes you look bad. All right. The other thing, when it comes to dealing with other people, and yes, absolutely, energy, vibration, and that's what we've been talking about, right? So dropping the ego. That we need to drop the ego. What's going on, Jessica? What's going on? So we have to drop the ego. Like, a lot of times why we begin to talk about other people is because we're so egotistical in our mind, or there's something that we are trying, or we're either egotistical, or we are so, what's the word that I'm looking for? What is it? When we don't have any self-esteem, right? Our self-esteem is so low that we feel like that we have to talk bad about others to bring them down, to make ourselves feel better. Or we truly believe that like we're so much better than these other people because maybe you've acquired more material success, or maybe you have acquired a better job, or whatever it is, right? And so we're either always trying to talk bad about somebody to either bring ourselves up or to bring somebody else down. But tell me, what does that accomplish? Absolutely nothing. And in fact, you go home and then you wonder why your life is really in shambles, or why it ends up becoming in shambles, because some of us are so egotistical that we don't even know that our life is really in shambles, because we spend so much time only thinking about self and thinking about how great we are and how perfect we are, and casting everybody else down because you've got it all together. Listen, buddy, you don't. You don't have it all together. Okay? Yes, absolutely. My pastor just spoke about this in church. Right. We don't know where they are in their journey. Absolutely. Absolutely, Jesse. But, so we are not feeling superior, and you have no reason to. You have no reason to feel superior to another person, right? Because we shouldn't think more highly of ourselves than what we are. Even if you do have more money, even if you do have a higher paying job, even if you do have a bigger house or a better car, that's still not a reason to treat anybody on a lower level because you feel like you've done it. Maybe that's their calling. Maybe that's their journey. Maybe that's where they are supposed to be. Respect them where they are at. Okay? Because as long as they are fulfilling what they're supposed to be doing, then fine, right? Like even in the Bible, there's a story about the beggar. And the beggar would go to the rich man's house every day, and he would ask the rich man for some food, just something to drink, right? And the rich man would tell him no. But ultimately, that was part of the poor man's, the beggar's journey, was to go and to try and reach the rich man. So the beggar ends up going to heaven in the story in the Bible, right? And the rich man ends up going to hell, and he looks up and he's like, hey, please, somebody just tell my family, go back and tell my family not to come here. Don't come to this place, right? But that was the beggar's journey. Right? So let's not knock it, because just because it looked like the beggar's situation here on earth was worse than the rich man's situation, ultimately, who was in the worst situation? Because, I mean, the rich man was begging for a little drip of water, and the beggar no longer had to beg anymore, right? And so what he experienced here on this earth was only temporarily versus the eternal life that he was able to experience, right? So, just before you begin to speak negatively to yourself or to someone else, stop. Think about it. Come up with 3 different thoughts, 3 positive thoughts that you can then say to yourself, right? Maybe you are failing in an area. Maybe you do need to do better. Maybe you need to improve in some area. That is perfectly fine. But that doesn't mean that you have to be down on yourself because of that. So think of 3 things that you are excelling in, and then begin to focus on your strengths, right? We talked about that earlier in the week. Focus on your strengths. Don't focus on your weaknesses. You work on them, you build upon them, or even you find people, outsource it. You find people who can go ahead and fill the need of your weaknesses. But you focus on your strengths, so you begin to pour into yourself, right? I am becoming the woman that God would have me to be, right? You begin to speak to yourself and know that where your current situation isn't your final destination, right? So, and then when dealing with other people, it's still the same thing, that their current situation may not be their final destination. So don't burn that bridge. Don't speak negatively about them, because you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what they need, okay? And the last thing they need is for you to speak negatively about them, all right? So your words have power. They speak life or death. And even if you are the only one who hears your words, guess what? You hear them. You are somebody. It is making an impact in your life. So what type of impact do you want to make? Do you want to create life in your own life, or do you want to create death in your life? All right, guys, that is my time. I'm Camille Aiko, and I hope that you are living the life that you love spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. Make sure you continue to protect your vibe. I'll check you guys out tomorrow night. Bye-bye.